Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Eating at a Meeting. A little bit of a schedule change this week. We're going to hear from Lauren Chitwood of Spiritless on the 28th of this month. Just need to do some rearranging. And so today I'm going to be by myself, but I'm going to talk about some food and beverage trends for 2023. I have looked at probably about 15 different reports from a variety of different companies talking about, just seeing what the trends are going forward for 2023. And if you're listening to me, would love to hear if you're seeing any of these trends in any of the food that you're eating at home or that you're incorporating into your meetings and events. So the first report that came, so let's get started. The first report that came out was actually last year. It came out from Whole Foods, actually put out the first report, I think. And a couple of things that they have on their list was a new brew called Yapan. And that actually has been on a couple of other trend reports as well. And it is a holly bush found in the southern region of the United States. And it happens to be, according to their website, North America's only known native caffeinated plant. So you're going to see this in a lot of different teas and kombuchas, and bartenders might start be using this in some of their drinks. And so think about, trying it out, and let me know what you think about that. But it is, it's a red, it looks like a holly plant. So let me know if you've tasted that, if you've seen it. It is, let's see, what else does it say here? The tannic structure is very mild, so oversteeping is not an issue. BBC Travel actually states that the caffeine and other stimulants called xanthines, theobromine and theophylline, release slow, but so there's none of the overstimulation that you might get from an espresso or whatever. So it might be a long, little bit of a caffeine hit for you there. And the next thing on the Whole Foods trend list was pulp with a purpose, which I love. And I actually saw this at the Food and Natural Products Expo last year. And it was, it's all about making sure that food waste that comes from making other food doesn't go to waste. And an example, and if you've listened to me, you've heard me tell this story, is that I met this guy at the Natural Products Expo who was he had created this machine that actually, when manufacturers were taking cherries and pitting them and had leftovers, the pulp from that, or they were juicing cherries, the pulp left over from that, he actually could take that and turn that into flour. And so that's what we're going to see a lot of going forward. And that is upcycling of products. The term is called upcycling. And so it's taking your leftovers from a variety of different foods and using it for something else. And actually an easy one that I did the other day was taking vegetable, like carrot peels and onion peels and the tops of turnips and the butts of celery, and putting them in Ziploc bags, freezing them. And when that Ziploc bag is full, I make my own chicken. I put it in a cook pot on the stove, and I boil it and simmer it for a couple of hours, and I've got my own vegetable broth. So that is another way to look at repurposing your food, but it's looking at taking the pulp from juicing, right? If you do juice at home, you'll know that when you juice, the juice comes out one side of the machine and the pulp comes out the other side. Take that pulp and do something else with it. You can put it in that bag, that frozen bag, to make your own chicken broth or vegetable broth. I actually throw it on salads because it's the good fiber of those vegetables and those fruits that you're using in your juices to do that. But you're going to see a lot of those products on shelves coming up, and just look for, the term again is upcycling. I'm looking at some of the product names here from Whole Foods. Let's see, Whole Foods Market has gluten-free baking mixes made with okara flour. And so will up and Whole Foods Market bakeries nationwide will launch an upcycled oatmeal chocolate chip cookie using oats from the oatmeal production in the spring of 2023. So see that. So Whole Foods is actually doing it as well. So if you're taking your own oats and you're milking them to make your own oat milk, you can again do that as well. So you're going to see those products. Again, from the Whole Foods trends report for 2023 is that produce meets pasta. And so, I've been eating chickpea pasta like Banza, and I've been eating pasta made from black beans and a variety of different things, rice flour as well. But this is really looking at how more pasta is being made from produce. So you're going to see spaghetti squash pasta, which we've seen, but it's probably going to be taking it out, kind of taking that pulp and using that to make flour and to make pasta from that. Not sure how much you're going to see that on a catering menu, but as products start to come out, and you might be able to find them on grocery store shelves, or chefs will be able to find them, hopefully wholesale. I'm not sure how wholesale they will be in that respect, but you can at least try it on your at home, and it will actually give you the nutrients from that vegetable. So it's making sure that we get a lot more of our vegetables in our bodies at the same time while we're eating pasta. Excuse me there. Sorry about that. One of the sweeteners that's coming back, according to Whole Foods, is the date, which I love dates. Pitted or unpitted, they're really great. They're also used as a sweetener. And instead of using stevia and a variety of other products, which I used when I first started managing my dietary restrictions, I started using stevia a lot, but I love using dates as well. And I just love them as big snacks, and not necessarily stuffing that date with cream, with blue cheese and wrapping it with bacon. Not saying that that's not good, because it is good, but we're going to be seeing it more as a sugar enhancer or a replacement for sugar in some of our different dishes. And there's a lot of, when you go online and you're looking for gluten-free or sugar-free pastries and things like that, you will find a lot of recipes with dates being the sweetener in that. But there's also date sugar and date syrup. It says mush, which is a really nice pre-packaged oatmeal that comes in the cold section of the grocery store. They've got one, mush overnight oats with vanilla bean, dark chocolate, coffee, coconut, peanut butter swirl. Lots of great different themes and flavors for that. But I love their blueberry one just for that reason. But they've got a variety of different things. The next one on Whole Foods Market, but I've also seen it across the board, is the poultry revolution. And more and more consumers believe that chickens should be able to act like chickens and roam around on fields, so that we're prioritizing their welfare. And so looking at the different certifications that chicken and eggs have, more and more consumers are looking at what those are. Prices of eggs have gone up dramatically. So it'll be interesting to see how that moves forward, if they do come down with some of the inflation that we're having. But when you're looking in the dairy case, looking for cage-free and animal welfare approved, animal welfare standards for laying hens, except a variety of different things. So Vital Farms is out there. I Eat Pete and Jerry's, looking for free range. I'll put out a blog post about what the different terminology is for what to do that. But the other part about the poultry revolution is one that actually some companies have actually gotten approval to make, I'm going to say the word wrong, but basically taking the genes of chickens and making chicken in a lab. So not totally like the Beyond Beef and Beyond burgers, but they're going to be actually making chicken from the actual genes but it will not be grown on a field. It will actually be grown in a plant, or in a processing facility, or whatever you call that. So it will be definitely different than, but it will still be chicken. So it's not going to be plant-based chicken. It will actually be chicken. I'm trying to find that story. I have so many of them up here. So that is one of the things about the chicken. So it's looking, and that the reason for that is around climate change and sustainability. So looking for the ways that individuals can do that. Let's see, where is that story? I saw it a couple of different times, but anyways, I'll find it and I'll put a link to it as well. But that is definitely something that we need to be watching for and looking for. I don't know. Somebody did say that they'll probably see some plants opening up, and there's one actually opening up in North Carolina soon as well. So that will be definitely happening. Not sure exactly where or how it will show up in our refrigerators, but it will definitely be there. So, okay, so let's find my next one that I wanted to talk about. Climate conscious. This is across the board. You've been hearing me talk about it for a while as well, but it is definitely something that individuals are really talking about. And actually, I'm going to go back to that chicken story real quick. It's cultivated meat is what it's called. So it's going to be grown in the lab and then sent to the plate. One gentleman said, Amaro Sanchez, the attorney at Wiley Ryan, who works with companies at the FDA and USDA, said that he's going to be ambitious and optimistic and say that we're going to see United States be the first commercially available cultivated poultry products by the end of this year. So there's a lot of different plants going up, building that. So, all right, going back to climate conscious callouts. So I've seen this for years, and the International Food Information Council, which I follow every year with their consumer products, what consumers in the United States want, is really paying attention to how their food is made. They want to know, they want transparency. They want to know the ingredients in their food. They want to know how it was made, where it was shipped from. They want to know their farmers as well. So it really is trying to tie that story back to that. And I think this is a really good opportunity for planners and culinary teams at hotels and catering companies to do that, to tell the stories of where their food comes from. And that's also, and making sure that it wasn't grown in California and flown to Florida if there's somebody in Florida that grows it. So really paying attention to how much water was used, and, understanding, that there's fair practices, that the soil that that the food is grown on is being regentrified, so that it is better for the planet in the long run. So if anybody's got questions, I know I've got 2 people here watching, let me know. I am keeping this window open along with some of my other windows, just so I can make sure that I can see everybody and check all these reports out. So okay, let's go back to this one over here. And so climate conscious is still important. And I actually this morning saw a report coming from PCMA, Professional Convention Management Association. My friend Aurora was doing an event or a speech at PCMA this week, along with Levy and Streamline Events, and they were talking about how to reduce food waste. And that was a great thing that we need to consider. And just talking about, I'm going to pull up this top topics here, and I'll put the link in the chat here for you so you can see this story. Let's see, posted that in there. But this was from Convene, and this is from Aurora Dawn Benton and Levy. So shifting your mindset is the number one thing. And that goes from everybody from planners, suppliers, and attendees. We really need to be a lot more conscious about the climate and where our food is coming from. actually Josh says we planners need to do some heavy lifting and not leave it to our food and beverage providers just to do all the work. So that really, and a lot of the presentations that I talk about is really knowing your numbers, getting your attendees to RSVP. And if you are attending, if you are the attendee, RSVP sooner than later, right? Help our planners and help our food and beverage providers supply the right amount of food for us, because we don't want to over order and then have too much food. Um, and actually Josh has a really good point here. And I did an event with them, with Streamline Events, in California a couple of years ago. And we did a dinner where it was actually a lunch, and we had one or two tables were served family style. One or two tables were served plated meals, and then one or two tables were served buffet, right? And so they got up and went to the buffet. And at the end of the meal, the restaurant actually scraped the leftover food from each plate and put it into the respecting bucket. So there was the plated food bucket, whatever was left over from that, the buffet bucket, and then the family style bucket. And the plated bucket had the least amount of waste in it. The buffet bucket had the most amount of waste on it. So if you can design your menus, and so that you can do plated meals, and I know that we want to have a lot more interaction with our events and things like that, but learn how to figure out how you can do some grazing tables that don't have such excess food, a variety of different things, but rethink it and work with your culinary partners to be a lot more climate conscious with what you're ordering. A couple other ideas that came from Aurora and Levy and Josh were that upcycle when you can. Just talked about upcycling. They had a Kentucky bourbon infused chocolate ganache and cinnamon sugar set out. The Levy culinary team had used pretzels and oranges left over from Monday to make the sweet treat. So that's another great way to, when you're a meeting planner, to talk to your properties. What do you have left over? Even, we've typically done, hey, I want to serve the dessert from lunch as my afternoon break. Great idea, right? That's some sort of kind of upcycling in a sense, but it's also looking at, hey, can those pretzels be reused? I mean, if they were out, or, making sure that everything is time and temperature controlled and not cross-contaminated or whatever, you can do some of that upcycling yourself with some of your food. Volume does not equal value. Nix the cheap filler food from the menu. Food should have purpose. And I did a presentation for MPI Colorado, Meetings Industry Colorado, on that. More and more individuals want their food to have purpose. They want to make sure, and this is on all of the trend reports that I've seen for 2023 too, is that we want to make sure that it's fueling our body, not just from the normal things, but can it help me feel better? Can it make me stay awake during the afternoon breaks or the afternoon education sessions? We don't want a large platters of food that 4 people can eat, right? We want to make sure that we're eating the right amount of food for ourselves. And actually thinking about food that will work with and help your attendees' brains function better, some superfoods and a lot healthier, not sugar-laden foods. That's, your food wants to be purposeful. People are paying a lot of money to come to your events, and they don't want to fall asleep, and they want to be able to focus. So if you can use your food to help them do that, that's actually using the food for purpose. So that's a really good thing too. Data is power. And that actually is a really good thing too. This is actually looking at your history, looking for your past events, making sure that you're understanding the trends of your registrations, et cetera, asking individuals which food and beverage functions they're going to, but also looking at that climate conscious aspect of it, is watching and asking your culinary partners how much food did go to waste in the back of the house actually, as well as the front of the house, because that will actually show you how much more you can potentially streamline and not order going forward. And you don't have to do them all at one time. Just take some of these one steps at a time. And then design with intention. Design your meeting menus, everything. And that's actually my word for this year is intention, like doing everything with intention. So typically, and I'm guilty of this before I started on my 12-year journey here with Thrive, is I just ordered things off the menu and I didn't really have any intention with it. So think about your food and beverage when you're ordering it for your attendees. Have some intention with it. Facebook user here. I'm going to look you up and see who that is. I'm assuming that's Joan or it is Nancy. Karen Stickney. Hello. Karen, labeling as superfoods, et cetera, might help. Yes, that would be a great idea too. Making sure, and I actually just created some labels for one of my clients, buffet cards that you can put out in front of all of the buffets. And I'll be showing you some pictures of those later. But, note that, put some great information, fun facts about the food and beverage that you're serving. So saying, hey, this is a superfood, or these are blueberries and this is what blueberries do for you, et cetera. Right. So have some fun with it as well. And you can educate individuals as well as providing them some good food and beverage. And let's see. Who was the other person in here that said hello? Nancy Sutter-Burns. Hello, ma'am. Thank you for being here as well. So Karen Stickney as well. I appreciate that, both of you being here. And all right, so let's go on to the next trend. We've talked about climate conscious. A lot of things, a lot of the trends that I've seen too is comfort food, retro, going back to some of the different food and beverages that we're so used to, brownies, mac and cheese, pizza bites, things like that. So kind of retro and comfort foods as well. But if you can make them a little bit healthier, all the better. And they, people, we do all love things that remind us of the past, but how can you put a new fun twist on it, right? Actually, the other day I watched some video of a woman making mac and cheese, and she put a big block of cheese in the middle of the pan. She put the macaroni and cheese around it. It was the weirdest way to make macaroni and cheese, but she was making it from scratch, not out of the box. And it looked really kind of fun. Okay. So let's do this is another food and beverage trend. Actually, let's go to the one I'm going to jump to beverage trends. And this is from Wine Enthusiast, list of trends. I'm excited for the fact of one thing on here. I'll tell you that in a second. But the first one on their list was expect more guilty pleasure cocktails. And it says bartenders will double down on combining escapism and nostalgia into whimsical drinks, whether based on rediscovered classics from the 90s or comforting dessert style cocktails. So somebody's going to have some fun with that. But the second trend on Wine Enthusiast list was actually low and no alcohol drinks. And I love that because last week's conversation with Derek Brown was all about that in his book, Mindful Mixology. And this is, I'll put a link in here on how to buy this book, but it's a comprehensive guide to no and low alcohol beverages. And I actually mentioned that we're going to talk about Spiritless, the CEO of Spiritless, in 2 weeks. This is distilled non-alcoholic spirit for bourbon cocktails. So this tastes like bourbon, right? So how can you incorporate these low and no alcohol beverages into your cocktail events? And I want you to get away from the sugar-laden soda and, just club soda and lime. Have those, yes, but also make sure, as Derek said last week in the podcast, is make sure that you're creating adult cocktails. That's what it's all about. We're adults. We want a cocktail, but the cocktail does not have to have alcohol in it, right? So make sure that you've got some great options for different beverage types. And there's a lot of canned, ready to drink low and no alcohol drinks as well. So getting them in the canned form to pass out. Spiritless actually has some of those as well. But I went to a great store in Minneapolis last week, or sorry, on December 30th, that had so many options on it. I was blown away by how many options. And then actually, I'm looking in this article from Wine Enthusiast, and Ashley Christensen, who is a chef and restaurateur in Raleigh. I'm going to have to go visit her. Has venues Fox Liquor Bar and Death and Taxes. She actually predicts that more emphasis on booze-free cocktail lists and bars, and more sobriety in the bar industry as a whole. So this is coming from a restaurateur who has a couple of different restaurants, and so she's actually adding that to her list as well. And that's funny because I was trying to find them here in New Bern, North Carolina, and Derek just said, go to Amazon for right now. Try to find them in your local liquor stores or beverage. There are non-alcoholic beverage shops popping up all over the country. See if you can find some of those. Let's see. Okay, so the next one on Wine Enthusiast is Agave Spirits will continue. There's no talking about tequila and mezcal. So that is still on the rise, including tequila-based ready-to-drink cocktails. That means they are going to be rolled out in cans. So that's kind of interesting that you can actually get a tequila drink in a can ready to, just drink it on the fly, kind of like popping a beer, right? Now you're going to be able to pop a tequila drink at the same time. And there's also kind of vodka ones as well. Wine Enthusiast said the $20 cocktail go isn't going away anytime soon. As a planner who ordered a specialty cocktail for an event back in April, and we were charged $22, I kind of agree with that. But the statistics from the Bureau of Labor, the reports from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that say January through September 2020 found that the alcohol sold by retailers to consume at home had risen just about 3%, while alcohol sold to bars, restaurants, hotels has risen almost 6%. So we are, and top that along with staffing prices, food costs, etc. The price of those cocktails are probably going to be a little bit higher, but work with your bartenders to figure out, some cocktails that might not be quite as costly as $20, but the price of a cocktail might still be up. Let's see. I do like this fact that number 9 on the Wine Enthusiast list is that bar pros will find the spotlight. So similar to Derek Brown, bartenders are actually becoming kind of like chefs, getting that high profile recognition for what they do. And I've had a couple. Tiffany Barrier is one of them. She's been on the podcast. I think it was 2 years ago. She's a great bartender mixologist out of Atlanta. And Derek and a couple of others. Erin Petrie, she was on my show last year, ringing in the new year, talking about what's on beverage trends for 2022. I'll put that link in the chat as well, so you can listen to what she said for last year and see what's coming through for this year. So the last one on Wine Enthusiast list, which actually took me back to a different report that I had printed out as well, is that space exploration is going to inspire drinks and food that we're eating. And it is spurring innovators to set sights on space exploration. And it says here, September 2022, Champagne House GH Mum revealed the first champagne designed for human spaceflight with a foam that coats the mouth. So that'll be interesting to see what we see from that. What kind of fun we can have with food from space. And let's find that Mintel report here. It's going to, it says Mintel's report says in 2025, the multi-billion-dollar space race will have affected the mindset of consumers as more extraordinary cosmic discoveries are made. So they're looking at all kinds of kind of fun food that you can make that you think that's that Martians are eating or that you'll find on Mars. Papa John's Planet Chorizo is said to be the world's first space-inspired pizza. So focus on the future. I constantly worry about the future. A statistic from Mintel says that 78% of Gen Zs are constantly worried about the future, and 53% of US adults overall are worried about the future. So, where we're going, we'll see about that. So, all right, so those are some beverage trends that I found. And let's go back over here to this other one here. Flavor Man, actually a different flavor. Let's see if I want to do that one. No, we're going to go to I'm going to close that one out. And one of the other ones that I saw this is actually from the tasting table. They have 17 food and beverage trends to look for in 2023. A couple of them I liked, and I brought some samples up from my kitchen. Well, the first one on here is artisanal butter, and I love that. But my favorite artisanal butter is actually from Atlanta. It's Banner butter. And I've been excited to be able to see that in a variety of different grocery stores, even up here in North Carolina. So Banner butter is doing a really phenomenal job. I used to use it in my cooking classes at the Cook's Warehouse. They've got some great different flavors, and you can get it in I'm going to put a post here to Banner butter and to their website, but they are, I'm going to pull up their about thing. And so they're actually 11 years old. So I'm excited about that. But the one I love is sea salt flavor, but, they are doing handcrafted deep flavor butter to food lovers across the country. So it's really creamy, natural flavoring. It's small batch butter. So it's not manufactured by a large processing facility. So it is definitely small batch, but it's definitely delicious. And they actually have cream. They have a variety. They do wholesale butter and buttermilk, actually, I should say, and butter whey. They sell all different kinds of products for that. So if you're looking for that, that's a lot of fun. And then the other trend that was on this one from Tasting Table is boutique salt, which is another friend of mine in Atlanta, and that is beautiful Briny C. So she has got these great, let's see if I turn this the right way, Sultan Papadopoulos salt. So this is got it tells you what to use it in. And it tells you the ingredients in here are pure ocean salt, garlic, dill, oregano, parsley, turmeric, chili blend, sumac, coriander, and lemon. She's got the Ladybug Picnic, which is a full flavored sea salt blend that has garlic, lemon, paprika, curry, mustard, parsley, pepper, sage, and dill. And then I love this Friends Forever flavor. So beautiful Briny C. You can get her online. But again, and then she's actually got some with rosemary in it. Oh, so many different varieties of salt that Susie has. And I will give you a link to her salt as well. And it actually is great for gift packages. And I do know that one of the Convention and Visitors Bureaus in Georgia actually has it. Susie the beautiful Briny C can actually put your own labels on it. You can brand your own labels and design your own sea salt. So tell Susie that Tracy sent you. But I love the fact that there is some boutique salt. Some other companies that they were talking to for a taste of Sicily, Bona Fortuna makes an organic line of harvested salts and ingredients like truffles, Sicilian lemon, and basil. Aurochs desert salt is harvested from an underground lake. So there's a variety of different companies that are doing this. Susie's been around, I don't even know how long, but I've known her for a good 15 years. So she's been doing this for a while, and she's a chef turned salt maker. So a lot of fun. All right. So the next trend on from the tasting table and actually on even the National Restaurant Association's What's Hot trend is THC and CBD culinary products. So as THC gains some traction to become legal in a variety of different states, and CBD loses some stigma, where more products are made with these healing compounds. So you're going to see a variety of different companies that have the products already in it or providing you recipes on how to make it. And actually, I've got a recipe book over there on my bookshelf on how to make food with CBD in it. And for personally, that might work. I make sure that you need to check with your corporate clients on how that's working and what you're going to do with it. But make sure you're also labeling that and making sure that it is noted that THC and CBD are in your food and beverage that you're serving at your events. Okay, so everybody, I've got 4 people watching. Well, hello, how are you? We've got, I'm talking about 2023 food and beverage trends, and Karen Stickney has actually said over here on Facebook, on my Thrive Facebook page, healthier comfort food and smaller portions. Karen, I am right there with you. We do not need to be eating large portion sizes that 4 people can eat in one sitting, right? We need to make sure that what we're serving is the right portion sizes. And, do smaller portion sizes and let people go back for seconds if they need them. Totally agree with you there. And then she also heard about a butter bar similar to a charcuterie tray with butter. That is actually one of the trends that was talked about. Yes, I saw that on Instagram too. Was it Instagram? Somewhere. But yeah, people are doing smears of butter on charcuterie trays and doing that. So it's like different flavors of butter. So I actually will find that too. I think that's really kind of interesting and fun. Right, is not in that list, but I will find that and post that too. I thought that was kind of fun and interesting. Let's see if it's on this one. No, that's a different one. So definitely look for that, Karen. If you see it, tag me on that because I do think it's fun. Butter bar, charcuterie tray. Yeah, I just think that's kind of fun, and it's going to be definitely something different. And I'm just Googling, that doesn't come up, but well, let's see. All right, going back to this other one from Tasting Table here. So we talked about the CBD. We already talked to the Yaupon, heritage meat. So meat is another big topic of conversation across the board. And as we talk about cost consciousness or climate consciousness, there's a huge discussion on, and Shauna McKinley and I talked about this too. Going plant-based is trying to do as many of food and beverage options that you can on your menus for your events. Plant-based versus using different kinds of meats and chickens or any kind of animal-based product is healthier for the planet. We can't do that 100%, but looking for alternative cuts of meat is another thing, as the price of meat is going up as well. And actually, I do have a podcast episode that will go out in 2 weeks where I talk to a food economist to talk about the price of food. So that'll come out in a couple of weeks on that. But we have to look for, and our catering partners might be looking for different cuts of meat. You don't want to necessarily use the filet mignon. So looking for that whole hog or that whole cow and finding some artisanal meats that have really good flavors, but also are raised in a more sustainable way. And this theme here is called heritage meat. So it's not just the different types of meat. that you want to look at, but it's also how that cow has been raised. And so looking at farmers that are doing regenerative agriculture, and my friends down at White Oak Pastures, they are doing it. Let's find that website for you. And you can actually buy their meat at Publix nationwide. But you can also order it from them directly on their website. They're in South Georgia. Lynn is commented. Yes, Lynn, totally agree. CBD and THC need to learn to be regulated. Yes, 100%. Years ago, and not on my podcast, I was interviewing a woman out of Colorado who was talking about the THC and the CBD, and she actually went to an event, and the host of that event had gone and bought the THC from, or the CBD from, a distillery in Colorado, and then gave it to the chef to use. They didn't share that had been, I think they did share it with it, but they had like two different types of mashed potatoes, right? They had regular mashed potatoes without it, and then other mashed potatoes with it. But as we talk about cross contact and cross contamination, the spoon was being dipped into each one, and her boyfriend actually gets drug tested at work. And so that actually could be a challenge. So we definitely need to make sure that we're following the regulations. And oh my gosh, there's a guy that I heard at NACE a couple years ago speak, and he's great. I will find his name, and CBD catering. And I will get you connected with him, because that was a really good conversation on how to incorporate it into your meeting menus. Okay. Let's see. I've been talking for 41 minutes here. Let's see. Time cutting and prepped meals. So definitely, I think this is one of the things that time cutting is you're going to see in our meeting menus. It's actually in a different twist of that. It's streamlining our menus. And this came up on the National Restaurant Association's trends as well. Minimize, menus so that there's not so many options. And so that makes it easier. And let's see, mini. Where did it go? Minimizing the restaurant menus so that there's not as much to choose from. And that helps when the back of the house, because when you have a limited number of staff, we have to actually make sure that they can make the food that we need, and, make it on budget, make it, appropriate, and not appropriate, but staff appropriate, meaning they have the time to do it, right? So it is menu streamlining. That's what it is. So let's look that up and see what this is from the National Restaurant Association. But this has actually been something that I've seen for kind of a while now, but it really is definitely something that restaurants are going to be doing. Hotels and convention centers are going to be doing, and they also might be looking at it in a way that they're using a ghost kitchen offsite to produce some of that food and beverage for them because of the staffing. So they are allowed to actually do it in an offsite kitchen, and someone else is producing that food and beverage for them to streamline it. So it does make it easier for the culinary team to make the options. Which makes sense, because how many menus, culinary menus are 30 pages long, looking at all. And it kind of has to be, because we have breaks and breakfasts and lunches and dinners and receptions and bars and a variety of different things. But I do definitely think streamlining the menus we're going to see that across the board. A couple of the trends from the National Restaurant Association, and I have seen this one, especially across all of them, is the experiences, local culture, and community. So as planners who are planning events all over the country, all over the world, make sure that you're actually incorporating where you are, the food traditions, the culinary flavors of where you're having the meeting. Bring in experts from the area, bring in farmers from the area, and create an experience about it, around the food and beverage, so that you actually have some intention with what you're doing there. And it actually adds a lot fresher flavors to what that is. I think that charcuterie board here, I'm going to look at it up here, because that is another trend on the what's hot with the Restaurant Association menus as well. Let's see, copy this, and there, that is like number 3 on their list is charcuterie boards, and I think that's all the rage across the around the country. Here in North Carolina, we just actually got a new little store that's all they do is they make charcuterie boards, and you can get them in all kinds of different flavors and sizes and different foods. They actually have some customized for food allergies, etc. I actually met a girl at the NC State football game this past fall who was out doing her charcuterie board in little paper cups or paper cones, and selling those for $10. And I loved that. So, okay, that's a lot. I've talked a good 45 minutes here on different trends. I hope that you've gotten something out of it. One last thing here on the Mintel one that I've seen a lot of too is messaging. Clear and simple communication is essential to connect with fatigued consumers about what they're eating and what they're doing. So whether it's on a prepackaged food or whether it's on your event buffet, your meeting menus, make sure that you're providing some clear, concise information about what ingredients are in there, where it came from or where it was sourced, etc. So I hope you got something out of this. Let me know what trends you're seeing at your meetings and events. And next week, we are going to talk about food and beverage contracting with, oh my gosh, with Joshua Grimes. He's going to be on here and talking about food and beverage contracting for meeting planners. So what we can expect with hotels and convention centers and how to do some of that. So tune in next week, same time, 12 o'clock Eastern on the Eating in a Meeting podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Stuckrath. And until then, stay safe and eat well. Thanks.